Welcome to the Nexus Unloaded podcast. This is Will Crozier.
And I'm Zach Kongonis. We are here to bring you the best solutions to your lifting problems. Through our real-world experience, we hope to break things down in a digestible, applicable, and entertaining way.
Today on the Nexus Unloaded podcast, we talk about messing up your competition attempts. I'm sure everybody's been to a competition. I've seen plenty of people that have put in 6+ months of preparation time, had a really good prep, got to the comp day, and managed to screw it up by picking the incorrect attempt. So we talk about the solution to that and how you can make your competition results better by picking better attempts. Before we get to that, we also talk about the coaching spots available at Nexus Performance currently, the Deadlift for Dogs competition that we have coming up at the gym, and a couple of other small topics going on in our lives. So let's get going. You, and in fact the entire Nexus team of us 7, were just here for Jordan Shallow's big 2-day, 14-hour seminar that he did here up in the Gold Coast at our Nexus gym.
Living our best life,
how'd you find
sleeping
it?
on your couch. Like, the high point was sleeping with Tank and Arkin. For those who don't know, actually, Tank had night terrors. I didn't tell you that. He's fucking freaking out under the sheets. Which, you know,
he kicks.
I had to wake him up. But yeah, it was a great weekend. It was fantastic to get up there. For actually, the first time the whole team's been together, which has been amazing. Yep. Actually being able to see everyone, learn from the bearded man himself, even though Jordan relentlessly took the piss out of me the entire weekend, which I guess it was my fault. I'm actually wearing the same pants right now for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah, there was a lot. There wasn't any, I feel like, blown mind moments for me where I was like, holy shit, this is like new information. I'm going to change my entire training model. Nor should anybody ever do that if they go to a seminar or a workshop or something. But Jordan's ability to be able to present sometimes kind of, not the most exciting ideas, like talking about rib cage mechanics or how you train your hamstrings. I don't know, something that people mightn't find crazy entertaining. He manages to make it entertaining, and that ability to do that as a presenter is absolutely just incredible to me. And that is what I took out of it after being to many courses, seminars, workshops over the time of my career. He's done that better than anyone else, and I hope that we can do something similar with this podcast. Give us a few running episodes. Don't just fucking come down at us from the start. But hopefully this develops into a slightly entertaining, educational experience for people.
Give us a chance to find the groove. But I think that his ability to make the information palatable is, I guess, what made the seminar so good. The information was great, and just the small takeaways, like you said, just reminding us of things that have kind of been lost in the quest of learning other shit. It always is the way. You learn something new and you're like, fuck, this is the best thing ever. And you kind of forget some of the other things you did beforehand. And it was a nice little bring back to everything. And I guess for me as being part of the coaching team, having that opportunity to learn and, upskill to create a better service for all the jacked boys and girls out there was really another main part of it.
Speaking of which,
segue.
If you do want to get jacked and strong, we do have some coaching spots available. So if you like what you hear on here and you find it useful, reach out for coaching. We can help you get jacked and strong. Just jump on our website, go through the links. I'm sure you'll find it. I'm not going to explain it. And you'll be face-to-face with one of us talking you through how we can help you.
Hashtag buy our shit. That's the moral of the story right there.
So as far as what else has been going on, we have in the gym here our first kind of little competition coming up. It's not a sanctioned powerlifting by any means, but it is a charity deadlift for the dogs event, which I'm super excited for. So if you want to see some ridiculous deadlifts, like some where we're lucky enough to coach and be around people that are literally the strongest fucking people in the country. So, there's going to be some absurd deadlifting going down at this small charity event, which is kind of crazy. But going to be some money donated to the local dog shelter. I'm going to try and find a dog suit to dress up in, So if you want to see, if either of those two, I don't know which one interests you more, but if you're interested in either of those, come down, 7 weeks' time. Lots of PBs already being absolutely smashed in the gym in the prep. So of all different levels, we have some people deadlifting, less than 100 kilo max is going to be in it. And then obviously guys like Anthony come in that are probably going to pull upwards of 400 kilos. So absolutely insane.
It'll be an exciting day. I didn't know about the dog suit. That's all that I care about now. And the fact that we're raising money for dogs and big deadlifts. But I just want to see you fit into
I said try. I don't know how many costume stores stock my size.
You can't say that then not deliver. You've just made
I'll
a
make it
promise
work
to all of the 6 people who are going to listen to this.
I'll make it work. I'll make it work. It might not fit. It might be the tightest dog suit you've ever seen, but I'll get there.
That's why people will come.
So let's head into
dog suit.
Yes. Let's head into today's educational topic, because although I could sit here and just do this for a fucking hour, we did promise some educational material. So hold on, let's get there. So our first question for this podcast, our first problem that we're going to talk over relates to that deadlift for dogs comp, because we have a lot of people that it is their first competition that they will be doing. And although it is just a deadlift only and you'll only have 3 attempts, you won't have to consider the whole day. We've had a few people ask about competition attempt selection, as in how do I pick my opener? How do I pick my second? How do I pick my third? And I thought it was a good opportunity for us to kind of give our opinion on that, talk about the considerations that come into making those decisions, the things that people potentially screw up. And on that note, I thought a good place to start would be talking about whatever you deem would be your biggest screw up when it comes to either attempts or just comps in general. Just give the people a bit of a story for us.
Look, I definitely have a lot of them, from the one where I got my soft suit caught on my belt on a shitty sumo deadlift, but the best one, funnily enough, was the one that I actually went my first ever 9-for-9 comp, and I completely fucked up I think it was like a 9 kilo water cut. My coach at the time wanted me down.
What weight?
Under
what weight?
100. I went from 109 to under 100 to get all of the 19-year-old WRPF records, because that's what matters. We'll probably talk about record chasing later. But water cut down 9 kilos, 8 ice chips for about 2 days. And someone said, mate, as soon as you finish the water cut, you weigh in a gallon of coconut water. And I was like, I fucking hate coconut water. But
100%.
I was young. This was the best choice. And as soon as the first bit, I hadn't drank for 2 days. I felt awful. And it went in and promptly came out at about the exact same viscosity and rate as it went in. And I was just on the toilet for about 6 hours after drinking. And I kept drinking it too. I was on the toilet. Yeah, I was drinking I was like, nah, I've got to rehydrate. This is what's going to happen. So the coconut water's coming in, it's coming out. I feel very unwell. I go and eat a burger, which fucking, that's the best nutrition after not eating properly for 2 days. But, weighed in fine, and eventually
I could just imagine you sitting there on the toilet, smashing this coconut water, going, "Yeah, this is a really good idea. This is definitely the way to go. Let's keep smashing more."
When you're sweating, when you sit, everyone can relate. You're sitting on the toilet and you're sweating, you're just uncomfortable. No, is that just me?
I mean, I live in Queensland, so it's just it's an everyday summer.
You're just kind of generally damp and sad. But yeah, that was really it. A really bad water cut. And from then on, I've actually never cut weight for another comp, because it's emotionally and mentally scarred me.
In my first comp, I cut, and again, it's kind of like, it's a bit silly, because we're obviously saying, don't do this, please, nobody do this stuff. And then you went 9-for-9, and I went 8-for-9 in my first comp. But I made all the mistakes in that comp. I cut 6 or 7 kilos for the first one, and then 8 or 9 for one very soon after, to make 100 kilos in my first comp. And also made some terrible on the day decisions, like going and getting some KFC between my bench and deadlift.
What was the order?
I don't know, but definitely burgers and probably some nuggets. Love them on the nug train. Always a nugget guy.
But no mashed potatoes. No, that's shit.
But it was definitely not the way to go. And I remember weighing in completely nude first comp. Fantastic. That's how you want to make an entrance. Just strut in. Just intimidate. But yeah, it was. It was. This is the first podcast. We can't just unload.
Yes, but
it
just unloaded.
but not in the we have to spread out this shit, all right? Like it's not. Otherwise, people are going to go like, these guys are the fucking dumbest people ever, and there's no way I'm listening to anything else. So we'll spread out the dumb shit that we've done, all right? So let's talk about shit that we should actually do. So when you are going into a competition, your opening attempts should be your last warm up. Like if your third attempt is going to be your biggest attempt, and hopefully like on the buzzer really difficult kind of PB level thing, then we scale back. The second should be kind of difficult but pretty safe, and then your opener should literally be a warm up, because that second one shouldn't be something that you're going to fail. It's going to be something that you're definitely going to get. Right, so like the opener is literally just a bit of a warm up on the platform to get to the second, so then you can hit the number that you kind of want to hit, and then the third one you're gonna go for gold. And a lot of people make bad decisions when it comes to their opener, right?
Absolutely blow their load on the first lift, because that's the best choice to make.
Just going nuts, and we're definitely advocating on the side of keeping it very safe, but. Let's go through like some considerations to make before you get there, because a very general rule of thumb would be that your opener should be around kind of the 90% of your kind of comp best weight that you've lifted maybe throughout the prep. For like if you've hit 300 for a top single on your deadlift in prep, and that's kind of like your best currently, you're aiming a little bit higher for the comp potentially. Maybe we open on 90% of that, so somewhere around 270. Wouldn't be a bad idea, roughly, to aim for, right? But there are more considerations. So you can't just go like pure math, bang, 90%, done, end of story. So, just I'll start it off with simply like, how has your prep been? Like, have you been really consistent through the prep? Have weights been moving really well? Have all the percentages moved how the percentages should be? Have you been feeling really tired or fatigued, or have your knees been absolutely like, on fire for every single session that you've done? Is your back playing up? Like just generally, how has shit been? Because if things have been really inconsistent and crappy and you're not feeling great throughout the prep, maybe, just maybe, we should open just a smooch under that number, just to be a little bit more safe. And so you can get some runs on the board and it actually be a warm-up, so you can take a nice jump to your second and hopefully a nice jump to a big third attempt.
And the variation between those attempts can differ greatly as well. Like I think with going off that 90% rule, it's a great guideline, but you said it's not the best number that you've hit. It's whatever numbers that have consistently moved in competition. Like if your best deadlift is 300 and for whatever reason you just had a shitstorm of a prep and your partner left you and you lost your job because you stole all the stationery, I don't fucking know, and you've only pulled 260 during the prep, there's no way that you're going to go off that same number that you've hit previously. So being honest with yourself and saying, okay, it's been a bit of a shitstorm. I might be able to pull something out of my ass on the day, which some people do, shockingly. But just understanding that you're basing it off, as Will said, the best thing that you've done in that prep, or being on the conservative side, because you don't want to miss your first and your second attempt. And I know Will can talk about that to a decent degree.
Yeah, definitely do not want to do that. The most stressful thing you'll ever do.
Especially
if you do it for 2 lifts.
Did you want to regale them with that story? Because I think it's a prominent one.
Oh, I mean, the last pro roll, which again, talking about shit not to do and then coming positive with the outcome to steer people down the wrong path. I still managed to win, but that's a different story. But yeah, on my first and second attempts, I managed to fail both my opener and second attempt of my squat and my opener and second attempt on my bench press. And I think maybe, there was some technical stuff in that, and they still moved. I still stood up with them, I failed them for technical reasons. But if I look back to it with a logical mind and not the emotional mind I had in comp at the time, there were definitely things which I should have considered when picking them and maybe opened a little bit safer. Like I handled like 10 plus lifters the previous days leading up to that for the competition. Like maybe I should have got someone to help out a little bit more, or maybe I should have, just like I said, opened a little bit smaller and taken that into consideration. I was on my feet for the entirety of those 2 days beforehand, which I'm a guy who has a desk job. So like my feet were literally freaking sore when I walked into squat. I'm like, shit, my feet are like half cramping. What the fuck? So like that should have been another sign, maybe lower it down. And obviously I traveled down, and I traveled from up here on the Gold Coast down to Melbourne. for that competition. So yeah, there were a few different things that I should have taken into consideration and maybe changed my opener for looking back on it, right?
Traveling piece is huge too. Understanding
Yeah.
that if you have to leave your comfortable bed in your home to go to a venue, chances are that something may go wrong in that transition between state or country.
Yeah.
It's a difficult
And the nutrition side of that, like if I'm going to a place across the other side of the country, and like obviously like we and our nutrition coaches for Nexus would employ you to plan very well and to have all your nutrition plan and pick a hotel room that has a microwave so that you can cook and do all the things, maybe pre-prep your meals, blah, blah, blah.
But no one's doing that.
But yeah, it's still kind of mess with your routine to some point, and that's definitely another consideration to take in when traveling. What else you got there? What's another consideration for your opener?
I think a big thing as well is whether the equipment that you have access to is the same as on the competition platform, which look, I think that nowadays people are really fucking lucky with the access to equipment that they had. I remember when I first started training, bars came bent. Like the bars that got to the gym,
100%.
They came pre-loved or pre-bent, and now there's people like the
people slamming rack pulls with those bitches.
That's what you need. It gives the bar character. Now you have people who are like, oh, no, the knurling's a quarter of a bee's dick too far on this bar. I couldn't possibly sumo deadlift with this. But
we're definitely spoiled in this age. You know, here I am sitting in Nexus and we're bought, so I can't talk, but we're enabling. But yeah, when I did my first comp, I'd never used a monolift. So I rocked up on the comp day and was like, what the fuck is that?
Gigantic sex.
You know? Yeah, what is this thing? So, I had to kind of work my way around that, and in the warm-ups kind of do my thing. Luckily, I adapted pretty well and figured it out. Same with the deadlift bar. In my first competition when I rocked up, not only did I not have one to use, I literally didn't know what one was. So like when I was in the warm-up room, I was like, what the hell is going on?
Great.
Yeah, it feels different. So, yeah, like if you haven't had access to it, anything like that, shout out my boy Pierce who competed here at ABL Nationals recently and unfortunately bombed his bench press. He hit that number for his opener like literally 4 reps in that prep and I don't even know how many times in the previous week, like many, many times. And then we got there and the bench press was vastly different and, kind of threw him off. So maybe in hindsight, we should have taken that more into consideration and adjusted that attempt. But, is what it is. We'll learn from it. Another one would be like just kind of how experienced you are with competition. Like if it is your first comp, if you're doing this Deadlift for Dogs comp, it's your first one ever, probably just open a little bit safer because you're going to get up on the platform. There are going to be people looking and cheering, and there's going to be this ref guy sitting in front of you with his fucking hand in the air or whatever, and you're going to be like, oh, what is going on? So you're going to be nervous. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be anxious. You're going to be like, oh, it's going to be a bit harder. And, so I would implore again, maybe open a few % less and pick a quite a safe attempt because you can always make bigger jumps. Right? You can always go from 85%, if we call it, to 93%. There's an 8% jump rather than a 5. You can make bigger jumps to bridge that gap a little bit more. So you can, if you're comfortable with that, with making those jumps. But again, in competition prep, plan for that.
To go with that as well. Like in the weeks leading up to the competition, that's the time to choose what size jumps you're comfortable with. Like I couldn't tell you how many people I've had who taken 10 or 5 kilo jumps the entire prep and they expect to get on a platform and take a 25 kilo jump on a deadlift. And it's like, you want to, during that period, troubleshoot, okay, what am I comfortable with? I know for me, I can take a 20, 30 kilo jump on deadlift pretty comfortably because I just use my spine. Whereas for bench, if I take anything more than 7 kilos, I just implode, fall over, and die. So it's a matter of finding out where you're comfortable, and in terms of some tools to help doing that, ramping sets in a prep are like the best thing you can play around with, purely from the fact that you can trial those different progression schemes and trial what size jumps you can take. If you want to conserve energy and take a 40 kilo jump on the deadlift, it may not be a great idea, but you can try it. Probably won't go well, but you can try it.
Give it a go. Well, if it's for the win, I'm all for it. But
that's another thing, whether or not you're competing to win the comp, to get a big total, to do a specific lift. Like if you're going into a comp with just the idea, I just want to squat 300, I don't give a fuck about the other things, then your attempts are going to look very, very different. If you know that 300's a little bit out of your reach, and you want to give it a solid yeet at risk of messing something up, who are we to say don't? It's a matter of having those priorities straight, and if the goal is to go 9 for 9 and get a good total, you're probably opening lighter. If you just want to show up and impress your gym crush and look like the biggest dude in the room, fucking open at your max.
Don't do that. This is educational. Bringing it back to just but it I mean, there are some. I can salvage some silver lining, useful stuff from that. In the
it's copper lining. It's copper. It's not silver.
In that, in saying that, maybe keep your attempts flexible, as in like, if you came in with the plan of hitting this number, then this number, then this number, and you rock up, and any multitude of factors are a little bit different on the day. Maybe you're just not feeling it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're feeling fucking fantastic, and you're like, "Fuck those numbers! I'm going to annihilate them." Either way, be flexible. Like, I would still open very safely, but like on the second and third, make decisions off how the first one moved, and make your third attempt based on maybe how the second one moved. Like, be willing to push them up or down a little bit based on that. And now, when we bring it up here in a bit, like we have a resource which we sometimes give to clients based that is a calculator on your attempt selection, and it has some variance in the numbers. Like, we'll say, hey, we recommend that your second be 100 kilos, and then the range for that might be anywhere from 95 to 105 is good, depending on how the first feels. And taking off on that a little bit more, people would know this just from prepping and lifting in the gym, but on the day, sometimes things feel great, and then you watch the video back and they didn't move so good. Or more likely, you go, holy shit, that felt terrible, or that felt really heavy. In brackets, no shit. It's a competition. It's 90%. It's not light. And they'll come and they'll say, holy crap, that was heavy. Not sure about the second attempt. Maybe we should just play a little bit. But then, like, as a handler, I'm like, the move's fine. That move, it wasn't the fastest rep you've done in your life because it's 90%, but it still moved how I expect an opener to, and based off your previous lifting, how fast I expect it to go for you. And, I think we should stick to the plan. So, like, have somebody there that knows you, knows your lifting, knows your mindset, preferably, knows how to get you G'd up or in the right mindset, or bring you down, and have them handle you, and keep that logical mindset on, and not just rely on your really emotional, in the moment, nervous decisions to make the right call. Because
it's hard to make choices when you're freaking out.
Yeah, I've been doing this a while, and I still make the dumbest decisions you've ever seen. Right, so I'm lucky I have Thomas there sitting next to me, going like, no, trust me, boy, I got this one.
Trust me, boy. The objective set of eyes is massive, because like even from the comp that I did at Apex a couple of months ago, I don't know what I did on my last squat warm up, but I went up sideways, and you looked at it and you were like, what the fuck happened there? I dropped my opener by 10 kilos, then took an extra 10 kilo jump in the attempts. It's like, cool, you can definitely equate 4 problems. And look, assume that something will go wrong. I've never done a comp where everything's been perfect. Have you had like the golden goose day where everything just lined up and you didn't? I don't know.
The only comp, and it's my favorite comp because of it, was Pro Raw 9, which I think was 2016. But I just came in, had a really, really good prep, came in super confident, and the day just played out like literally exactly to plan, and ended up, just smashing it, 9 for 9, killed it, absolutely. Just, broke the Australian record, which was, and a bunch of things, and it was just a perfect comp. Perfect comp. But other than that, no.
And how many comps have you done in total? Because like out of what?
I have no idea.
15,
but I've
20 comps?
been competing since 2015, so it's been a few.
A lot of comps, you've had one that's gone perfectly. I have had, I went 9 for 9 for one, but I also shat my pants on my last deadlift, so I wouldn't call that perfect. But if you're looking at it, the chances of you having a perfect day where nothing goes wrong is different to a day where you go 9 for 9. A 9 for 9 perfect attempts day doesn't mean that the entire day went off without a hitch. Chances are you'll have to adapt, you'll have to respond, you'll have to do something to make up for a problem, or you accidentally take too much modafinil and then your heart rate doesn't go below 120 the whole day. Something will happen. So being reactive and responsive does matter.
Yeah, all the things we talked about, having a handler, being flexible, coming in a little bit calm, not just super anxious and frightened, and and wired up. All this stuff are key to it. But to recap a little bit, consider how your prep's been, your experience, if you've used the weight, if you use the equipment, if you've traveled, if your nutrition is going to be on point on the day, if it's going to be the same, if you know the equipment there compared to what you've been using. Just understanding that shit happens as well. Like, at the Adelaide Nationals a few years back, I had...
2019.
Was it?
Yeah, 2019. That was the one.
How do you know that?
I was national champion. Oof.
Oh, you were national champion. Oh, see, you're telling me on the brag. There's your brag right there. National champion, undefeated.
Undefeated for the last 3 years. Even
Yeah.
though the comp hasn't run in 3 years. So that's okay.
Hey, don't mention that.
Don't mention that.
But yeah, at that comp, we had Keita and Chantel in that comp, both phenomenal lifters and, just at the top of their game. And we came in with some numbers in mind and everything to plan and everything. And that warm-up room was packed. I remember it, absolutely packed. There was a little bit of a shortage on plates during that flight in particular. And I remember, we were trying to get under the bar and do our attempts and everything like that. And there was just people everywhere trying to gather plates to put the right weight on the bar and everything. And everything just took a little bit longer than when we had hoped. And then as I'm going through, like I'm running over to Fuzzy and going, like, man, how long we got? And trying to time things appropriately. And, wrap knees and do all that business. And I remember just the timing was just a little bit on the short side. And then I had to go back, waddle over to Keita and tell him, I mean, we can do this final warm-up, but there is every chance that if we do, that like literally the second I unwrap your knees for this warm-up, you're going straight over to the next to the platform and I'm wrapping your knees for your opener. That, if it takes the time that I think it's going to take and they go the speed that I think they're going. And because they're both obviously pretty competent lifters and done a few comps and managed to stay kind of in the zone, in the right mindset for it, we just made the calm decision of like, you know what? We don't need this last warm-up because the opener is a warm-up. Very comfortable weight that they had both hit, multiple times for reps. And, so we just kind of skipped it. A little bit of nerves came from it, no doubt. I haven't imagined if Keita's listening to this and that they're kind of like, yeah, I was actually shitting my pants. But, they played it well. Went over, we were at the knees and still smashed it. Still had a really good comp, So it shows that sometimes, no matter how well you plan, no matter the numbers on the spreadsheet that you have, you can still be flexible on the day as long as you stay calm and don't freak out and make it happen. A bunch of other. I can now have 100 stories on this of shit that's fucked up and we managed to. But like at Pro Raw, I think it was the same one, the most recent Expo one at Arnold's. We
Can you smack the air horn button?
No, that was Pro Raw 9, so we're past the air horn for that and it's more at 10 or something. But at that one, I remember that it was as Pro Raw, as Expos are, very loud and you could not hear shit. And then Marcos and Emad were like kind of, running to the warm-up room where everybody was warming up for their first attempts of the day, very start of the day, first flight of the day, and going like, 10 minutes till the first one, doing that whole thing, normal comps. And because it was so loud, we couldn't hear a single word that they were saying. So there was nothing at all. And then next minute we hear like, platforms loaded. And like, I remember Aaron Sim was the guy who I was rapping and he was like the first one up to squat. And we hear like, platforms loaded. And I'm like, like we just look at each other like, what? So probably a little bit of me not being as, having multiple people to look at and being a bit freaked myself. But yeah, we missed that first one. But we just kind of went, fuck it. Told him, hey, just redo that attempt. Put in the same one for the second attempt. We might have even put it up like a tiny bit to just to still a very safe number, but just to bridge the gap a little bit easier, so we could still attempt something big for the third. And and just went out in the second attempt and did our thing. So like, I'm not saying that anybody should ever do that, but shit does happen. There will be times at competitions where like the plan will just not go exactly as the plan.
And especially things like that where every comp's going to be quick, slow, there's going to be problems with organizers, problems with athletes. It's just the matter. It brings back to having someone there to handle you as well. Even if it's just someone who doesn't know a lot about powerlifting, the idea to have someone to be eyes and ears so you can kind of just sit there and be a potato lifting weights. There's a lot to be said about that. Even like small things of understanding how to time those warm-ups. Like I know with low bar squats and with the wraps and everything, the easiest thing to do is just go off the attempt card. You pick the person who's the flight behind you in the same position and just go every time that they go. I know for me that's usually the easiest way to do it. And it's the timing method that keeps you up with the run of the competition itself. Because sometimes the spotters and loaders can absolutely blow through those people like a fat dude with a burrito. Like fucking Speedy Gonzalez over here. Other times someone drops a squat and it's a nightmare. So being reactive,
they have to reload the bar and everything like that. That happened to us a couple of times at the APL Nationals recently.
Yeah. In those situations, do you leave them in their wraps or do you take them off?
Usually not. It's unless I know that they give me like a hey, nah, we'll sort this shit out quickly. It's risky to leave them on because you're going to walk out there with, really just completely numb legs. Your feet are just going to not exist anymore to you, and it just it won't happen. So at the APL Nats, your client who I handled, Trav, this actually happened to him.
Poor Travis.
I don't know if you knew that or not, but it actually happened to him. And we wrapped his knees, and then I went out in the back to actually wrap somebody else for their warm up in the next flight. And then next thing I know, Mickey's running over to me, tapping the shoulder, going like the combo's fucked, and like they couldn't change the height or something, so they had to completely unload the bar, put it to the right height manually, and then put the weights back on, which means poor Travis was going to have to sit there for a few minutes extra with his wraps on, which he was already a bit of a bit nervous headed into it already, so it didn't help with that. But no, we just got him to unwrap his knees quickly, wind him up, and then my forearms were on fire, but I ran back over to him and managed to re-wrap him a minute later or 2 minutes later or something when it was ready. And usually at competitions, the people aren't going to be like, oh, you only have 30 seconds to get up there. Usually they're understanding that you've just unwrapped and re-wrapped and all that stuff, and will be a little bit leeway on that, so that helps a little bit with the nerve side of it. But yeah, that happens too. So I mean, like there are just so many things. But it's being calm, having somebody to handle you, and can kind of go like, don't do exactly what you just said is the key to that. So that kind of bridges us into, because something I thought of when you were just saying through that is dealing with a missed attempt. As in, like if you fail your opener, or hopefully not.
Cry.
If you fail.
Start crying.
If you fail your second due to a technical error or something like that, maybe you're a little bit nervous and you miss depth on your squat, something like that. I don't know. You miss the start call on your bench. Anything can happen, but whatever. Something doesn't go to plan and you miss. It's very easy to just freak out and be like, oh no, the world's gonna crumble around me and oh shit, what do I do type thing. And it sucks. Like I said, you brought up earlier my pro roll comp where I failed my first 2 attempts on squat and deadlift. So thanks for that. But
it's a pertinent issue because it's the first comp that I've ever seen you like not talk between attempts. Like you were saying, we're having a chat before. You were saying, "Oh, you're a talker when you're competing. It's how you get rid of the nerves." It's the first time you just sat there with this fucking look on your face, and I was like, "This is bad."
yeah. It's the first one where a proper, like, I've never missed an opener, let alone a second, let alone
Twice.
On 2 lifts. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say that I was fucking shit myself at that point. I was super nervous and I was, not in the ideal mindset between those attempts. And I think the key to it was 2 things. It was Mickey kind of helping me become, obviously she knows me pretty well. I would hope so by this point. And she was helping me kind of mentally just kind of be calm and just distracted and focusing in the way that I needed to and not just be super negative about the whole situation. And then the other one was Thomas. Thomas was, like on the bench, for example, the reason that I failed the first 2 attempts was my butt coming off the bench. It wasn't that I was too weak or that, I was screwing it up or anything. It was that. It was a very small thing that and that was the most frustrating part about it for me. But him just being there to go like, tap on, this is what we need to do. Like, change this one thing. Because everybody else, I reckon at least 10 other people there on the day had their opinion on what I should do differently. And trust me, they were letting me know. They were like, you should change this. You should change that. I have different opinions on different things I should change. And luckily, obviously, me and Thomas have a really good relationship and been working together for a long enough time that he's the only guy I trust. He's the only guy who I'm like, no, like, if anyone fucking knows what I should do, it's this guy. And, fuck everyone else's opinion at that point in time. It's just, I'm going to listen to him, and we kind of ended up just doing like a Larsen press with my feet just kind of resting on the ground, Anyway, we did this. We cued the almost opposite to what you would usually cue, just to make my butt stay on the bench and just get my my one attempt out on that,
And in that too, it's important to note that in that entire shit show, you didn't crank the weight up and say, nah, it'll be fine for the next one. That's something that you see people do all the time. They'll miss on a technicality, and because it moves quickly, either they cut depth a bit or their butt comes off. It moves fast, but they miss it for whatever technical reason. What's your thought on keeping weight the same or pushing weight up? Or I think that keeping
actually, that you mention it, I actually did put up my squat attempt after my failed opener in that comp. I think it was only 10 kilos or something. It wasn't much, but if you go back and watch the entire video or whatever you want to do and watch my first fail, like, it was almost bouncing off my shoulders. Like, I've never moved that much weight that fast. Like, it was not a weight issue. It was a depth issue. And me and Thomas had a discussion and said, well, you know what, I don't think that putting 10 or 20 more kilos on the bar is going to make me, I think I can still hit that extremely easily based on how it's moving, and I don't think it's going to affect my depth. Like, if I can hit depth with whatever the weight was, I think it was like 360 or something, I can hit it with 370. It's not the weight on the bar problem. It's a slight cueing problem, or the previous day problem, or whatever the problem was. And so, like, we put it up slightly because. And actually, if you look at the result, it actually worked out exactly how it needed to.
The weight pushed you down.
No, not that. Definitely don't. It's not that. But more that I definitely needed those 10 kilos to run out the day. So
important to mention though, the likelihood of that being the case for the majority of people is fairly low.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that it's just a small technical issue that they can resolve between sets and reps. I can also see the flashing red light for the battery.
The battery's given up. Yeah. Another technical issue. First episode problem.
We'll get them right. But yeah, for the majority of people, keeping weight the same is going to be the best option, unless you will and have Thomas there to say, hey, this is the right choice. Because, again, you could always make up an extra 5 kilos in a jump or an extra 2.5 kilos. Is going to be a better option, because for the most part, you put the weight up, you stress the fuck out, it can be a problem. Unless you're so obscenely confident that it was just a small problem, then
small technical thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since we've got the battery flashing on the screen, I'm going to wrap this up here, and I will say, first of all, Nexus spreadsheet, attempt selection spreadsheet will be available in the show notes. We will link it there for you. Also, if you jump onto the nexusperformance.com.au and find the podcast bit up the top, you can give us some feedback, ask questions. So if you've got any thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions or problems that you have that you want to ask our opinion on for future episodes, jump on there and leave that, and we'll get to it at some point. But yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll wrap it up there before this battery just completely dies on us, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Red hot. Catch you guys. Thank you for listening to Nexus Unloaded. Be sure to jump on our website to find details on everything mentioned on today's podcast, plus information on our coaching, mentoring, and gym services. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at nexusperformance.aus for any updates on what we are currently doing. See you all in the next episode.